So this is, I want to point out, this is probably, all these number percentage are estimated number. The reason I said it's estimated because how do we know what students thinking about it? Do they give a good relevant explanations, or they just make the guess, just multiple choice question? That's why we asked them to provide explanation under each of the control they picked. So that was kind of interesting. So I just tell you right now. So out of like 23, well, I will show you the number. 23% of students who answered, who gave any explanations, only 5% gave a relevant explanation. So although they did it right, probably a lot of them just don't really understand what's the reason the surveys are not controlled.
Is that true in the post blue as well?
The post, for all the post questions, 100% students explain right. If they choose correctly, every single one of them gave the relevant explanation.
So I guess now I don't understand your previous statement. Why wouldn't that be reflected? I mean, you said that these scores are an estimate. So is this score just whether they got it right or wrong, ignoring their explanations?
That's right.
So you haven't separately graded their explanations and factored that in?
I have a table to reflect that.
Okay.
So this is just based on if they choose, make the right choice.
It is interesting though, like the intervention in general, it's interesting to me that you chose to sort of teach about controls with activities that were distinct and separate from the actual running of experiments and reflecting on how we run and how we do experiments in the lab class.
That's actually very interesting. I want to integrate the control into the course as much as possible, but for that will probably require a lot of actually changes in the course. So for this time, I actually try to align the type of experiment scenario to the experiment or technique they're learning. So to match as much as possible, although not all of them matching. So that's actually one of the common students say. Most students really value the activity, but some students say, well, a couple of students say, I don't see the relevance of this activity to what we're doing. Of course, at the end of the project, for the final project that they're doing, they see the value. Okay, still not everybody see, but most students see the connection between their practice on control to what they're doing. Some others say, you will see the comments, they say controls for their own research, independent research are much simpler than the activity they were practicing on.
Can I just ask one more thing? So on most of the actual experiments that students are doing, do the faculty have kind of a learning goal associated with that experiment? So it's like you need to learn to use an infrared spectrometer, whatever. I don't know what the instruments exactly are in biology, but the goal is actually to figure out how to use the equipment and not so much a focus on.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So first half the semester pretty much techniques oriented, meaning this is you generate a standard curve, you try to compare, your experiment to this curve. That's the closest to the real experiment. Pretty much just try to using the pipette, using the microscope, how do you make the focus, if you mess up something, how can you readjust back to visualize your sample, things like that. So, this brings a very good question. What would be a different teaching strategy to deliver? Can we orient each experiment to a mini experiment? You pose a question, then you design a simple experiment. Doesn't have to be complicated, a simple experiment. So that's a question in discussion, So if we can design experiment driven by a question and a real experiment each time, maybe student will see the value better. So, but we haven't done that. So that's a table. So student textual response. First of all, although as you know, we asked the student to provide explanation, not all students will do that. So that's why I couldn't do separately a graph, because that will cut down the number significantly. So we just have these to further explain the figure. So this column is basically correct answer with any explanation, so pre and post. and correct answer with relevant or cohesive explanation. So as you can see, pre-post is a huge difference between pre and post. So the conclusion from this is, for the pre-test questions, student responds correctly but may not be explaining correctly. Okay? But for post-test, if a student chooses the correct answer, their explanation is all clear, all reasonable. So that's kind of the take-home message, which is pretty good.
Except that it's a little bit worrisome that you actually don't have anybody right. I mean, to me it seems a little bit worrisome that maybe you're getting people just parroting back the sentence that they heard in class, right? I mean, you'd think that there'd be somebody who randomly got the multiple choice answer correct and didn't have a coherent explanation.
Yeah, since not everybody's getting it right.
Yeah, unless people are kind of just parroting. So, I mean, the fact that it's actually 100% relevant and coherent explanation, to me, seems like questionable. I don't know.
Is there a group of people who have the correct answer but with no explanation?
Yeah, like I said, these are, remember, this is not like, not everyone who choose the correct answer provided explanation. I'm saying it's the one provided explanation, they are 100% right. But we don't know the one didn't provide explanation, may not know, okay, what. So I think that would be reasonable.
Was this analysis of correctness of explanations done blindly? So you know, the person who evaluated that, did they know whether this was a pre or a post?
Yeah, we have different people look at it. Okay, pretty much similar evaluation. Yeah.
Steve was asking if you did it blind to whether it was a pre
yeah, we gave it to another person to look at it. It didn't label pre or post. It gave very similar analysis that I did. These are pretty straightforward. You know, the answer is just one sentence or two. If it's unlike some other, they gave, you know, it's very apparent if they.
So is an explanation required? Like,
we require them. I even put on every single question, but required. But not everyone choose to give explanation.
It's just amazing that nobody guessed the right answer.
Well, some they get it on
No, some of the
explanation.
they just didn't. Yeah.
They just didn't write out a wrong answer.
Right. Not a single person guessed the right answer and then gave, you know, and then indicated that they had guessed it.
Yeah, but there's still quite a few. You know, as you see, it's still, if they didn't provide the answer, we don't know if they know exactly. So.
What percentage? Can you roughly guess what percentage of people picked the right answer but didn't give a explanation?
Right.
What percentage of students?
Correct answer with no explanation.
Yeah, so roughly what's the percentage of students that answered correctly on the post but didn't give a explanation?
Right. That's a good point. I can look at that. I can do a simple math, but right now I need to concentrate. But yeah, I think you can deduce from this number and see how many students in that graph answered it, subtract that. But, you know, I think it's a...
It would also be useful if you had a column just said how many people put an explanation, whether the answer was right or wrong.
This column.
But that's only if they got it correct.
So people who gave an
How many
explanation.
people just gave an explanation at all?
Right. Okay,
That would be
that's
useful
true.
to know if it's half the classes explaining it or if it's only
Good point.
15%.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll do
did that ever happen, that they gave an explanation but didn't? What do you mean?
But picked the wrong answer.
Yeah, that happened occasionally too. They explain right, but that's mostly because they have the terminology confusion. You know, they explain right, but they don't choose the right
Like
control.
positive and negative?
Yeah, which I think that's less important than if they confuse the control with experiment, which means they don't think the control is important, right? So, but that happens too. That happens a lot when they are confused with the terminology, positive versus negative controls. Yes. So in that first example, the drug example, a lot of students actually gave the right explanation but chose the wrong type of control.